We're continuing the theme that we've started here. You know, words are powerful and don't all about words. And we want to know what the words encompass, what exactly this includes. We're up to the mission of Mabavim and Aleph in the middle of the page. When you say Hanoidim min Hamit, somebody makes a net that he will not stay, sleep on a bed or sit in the bed. In those days, beds they should sit and sleep on. Mutter, you're permitted with a dargish. Now, what exactly is a dargish? We had a few times in Shastra. We'll talk about it here. Divid Amer. So a dargish is not included in a bed. The Chachamim say dargish, yes, is included in a bed. But everyone agrees. Hanoidim in a dargish, mutter b'mitzvah. You make a neder that you will not enjoy a dargish. Everyone agrees, but you're permitted to go on a bed. So we're going to ask him right away, my dargish, what's a dargish? Omar Ula says, Arsa de Goda, a bed for good luck. A bed for good luck. Now, fascinating. What kind of bed is it for good luck? We had it in Mar Shabbos there, that you're not allowed to have a table for good luck. In fact, in Shulchan Aruch, you have a chance to look up Kufa and Ches in the other day. Sandwich right between. Oh,
the task brings about spitting in
Oleinu, that whole year. Sandwich between Ribis and Zichas Nida. So over there it talks about that you're not allowed to put, let's say, a challah on the table the night before a bris for good luck or something. You know, do things for good luck. And the Taz disagrees on Friday, and based on that, the others want to say on Friday night, you're not allowed to leave a challah specifically on the table because, and the Taz, we're talking about the Kabbat Shabbos and so on. So we'd say over there, they're not allowed to have a table that you don't put anything on there. It's supposed to bring good ashidus or good luck into the house. But a bed, if you talk allowed to, we talk about a bed of good luck, where they're allowed to. So Rashi over here, they bring Rashi here from other Gemaras, where Rashi says clearly it's part of Nechush, you're not allowed to. But I want to read to you a fascinating Rosh. And remember this Rosh. This is Nedarim Daf from Mabavim and Aleph. The Rosh here is on the bottom. He says, "What's his Arsa de Goda?" About 6 lines on the bottom. What's his table of good luck? Says the Rosh on the bottom right hand side. Why would you have a table of good luck in your house? Says the Rosh. It's a bed that they used to keep in the house for good luck. Gedisa b'Shabbos, God gediv v'sinagloy. Kisora da'atirusa, the Tsar of wealth. His name was Nokir Shmei. His name was Nokir. We had him up. Nokir is from the word nikia, clean. Umatzu b'bayis. Where does this malach of wealth hang around? In a house, Hashemim oisu b'nikiyas. If your house is clean, the malach of Ashidus hangs around your house. Lekach mechinim tamid mitim lutzas l'kiyas. They had this bed. What was on this bed? Nothing. But they always kept it clean. Nobody slept there. The linen was always flat out. They made that, make sure the rest of the house, the beds were made every morning. The house was clean. The malach of Ashidus hung around. Okay, now you know what the trick is. So the Rosh seems to learn there's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, in Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah talks about in that simon there, a machlek is if you're allowed to have a mitzvah, because the pasuk says you're not allowed to have a table. Maybe a mitzvah you're allowed to. Others say a mitzvah you're not allowed to because it's also nechush. But this is what it is. According to the Rosh, all it is they kept it clean, and symbolically that this somehow or another means the house is a clean house. So this malach makira. That means you can turn. Well, what Taisa says, it means we have the capacity to turn over the mazel if we daven, but the mazel still has some binding. Even though the Gemara Shabbos of Kufim above the ain mazel still sounds like there's no bearing in us. But anyway, this is what it is. Interesting. Let's continue here. It says the Gemara. So that's what it was. A table of mazel. So it's not really a bed. I'm sorry, a bed of mazel. It's not really a bed, and that's why it's not included. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. You tell me it's a bed for mazel. When the first meal they gave the oval to sort of calm him down and to console him, they would give him. Today would give bread and ashes, but they used to give them kalamas subin al oretz. Everybody would sit. This is the king. Everybody would sit on the ground, and he would sit on this dargish. So the king would sit on the dargish, and everybody sat on the ground. So look, you see clearly from here that they sat on the dargish. Now, according to you, coolish a whole year, you tell me nobody sits on there. You keep it clean and so on. And dafkin the day of Avelis, when you do less than what you do the rest of the year. Dafkin, then you sit on this good luck table. Masker and what's a kasha? Media the have just like flesh and wine. If it's not Yom Tov or whatever it is during the or Shabbat during the year, the Kula Shasa eat by Achli by Lachel. You have a breda by the you want to drink wine or eat meat. Yet Ahu Yoima Ananya Vinle. They used to give him meat. We've learned. Yeah, we learned Ksuvas. The only reason why they created wine in the first place was for Avelim. Maybe she made one, and he's given 10 cups to drink. We're very happy by the time it was over. So they calmed him down. So we should, why not? Maybe a whole year we don't really sit on it, but on Avelis, about Havara, they did that for good reason. El Hakash, this is bothering him. How can you tell me Dagish is a table of good luck? At the time we learned Dagish like a kafeyu, or by an oval we used to turn over all the beds, but the Dagish they would not turn over. Now why didn't they turn it over? Because the legs of the bed by all the other beds would be higher than the mattress part of the bed. So when you turn it over, it's the same thing. But when you turn over this, because the legs ended up even with the board, if you turn it over, then the whole board and the mattress would sit on the dirt and would get all messed up. So they wouldn't turn it over. Elozoik means either from the Shem hold you leave it standing the way it is, or other Shem hold you stand it up on its two legs vertical. Now, if you tell me that a bed is Arsa de God, a bed that what? If you tell me that this Dargish is just a bed, but Tanya if it's a regular bed, the only thing is they didn't sleep on it because they kept it for good luck, they kept it alone. But it says that every bed in the house will turn over, so how come the Dargish will not turn over? Which that doesn't bother me. Looks like they had also beds where they use as like a pantry. They used to use beds to support things on it. The Tanya we learned, if the bed was not meant for sleeping, the bed was there to put things on and under it, then they didn't have to turn it over. So what can Dagish be like? Just no different than that. A bed of good luck, but it's treated like a bed for Kalim. Ali Kasha Hakasha. Any bother me, this will bother me. The Tanya will learn the Braisa Rashbag says Dagish, forget about this Abelis, the king. It says Rashbag says, what do you do by Abelis by Dagish? Matir Karbitav. Ropes. They didn't have like we have mattresses, they have springs. So they had ropes that they tied to the boards, in vertical, horizontal and vertical, and that supported a piece of leather, whatever it is, and they supported you. He said, untie the kabitav. Now, when do you untie kabitav? Something which is temporary, untie. But if this is a regular bed, if you tell me that this is a regular bed, why would you be able to untie it? It would be permanently tied and locked in and nailed in. You could never open it up. And it would fall down. That's what Shabbat says. You don't stand it, you don't turn it over, but what you do is you untie it. When ropes come in here, ropes are only for temporary things, not something that's permanent. And you tell me it's a regular bed. So because of that, so either we repudiate what he said that it's an Arsa de Goda, or according to Rashbag, it was not an Arsa de Goda, but maybe because of others it is. But saying Ravi came along, he said, she ilta once asked whom Rabban, I asked one of these Rabban, his name was Tachlifa, the son of Marava. Interesting name from the son of the west. He used to roam around, he used to hang around by this marketplace of leather tanners. So he knew leather, and those days the mattresses were made out of leather. That's what they should sleep on. My Dargish, you know what Dargish is? Arsa de Tzola. He says that it was a bed and there was a piece of leather, a strip of leather that went from one end to the other end, but it's not as chashav as a regular bed. And because it was not so chashav, therefore by Abeilus it didn't turn it over. Only the chashav beds they turned over. This wasn't strong enough, and therefore people didn't really sleep there properly, and it's not really a proper bed. If we can just stand it up, it's enough. And therefore they use ropes, these loose ropes there. And Rabbi says you don't have to turn it over; you have to stand it up. Just untie the knots. What you saying? What to eat? What we learned? You might need some pictures there. What's the difference between a bed and a dargish? I'm going to be a mita, buy a bed. They would take the ropes, and the ropes would go over the posts. So they had this board all around, and you tie the ropes over the board. A dargish, they didn't go over the board. They made holes in the board, and they put the ropes right through the boards. So it wasn't as strong, and it wasn't as permanent. Says he, you tell me a regular bed, the ropes went over the boards. Let me ask you a question. Kli 8 is not mekabatuma until you completed whatever its function is. You completed the work. Hamita v'harisa, he says it by a bed, and harisa is also a kind of bed. What is it? By a dog. When you then take the oil of a dog, that kind of leather, and you smear it on the boards to make it shiny and smooth and everything else, that means you completed the bed. Oh, but the Eid meat, you tell me a bed, the ropes are over the boards, which means you never see the boards. Why would you have to stand there and smear the boards and make it look nice? What boards? Who sees it? The meat was like if you tell me that by meat, the ropes go over the board. This is Lamali Sheep as a dog. What do you have to make it polish it? What do you have to polish it for? Elahava Magufan. A bita and an arsa, both of them, you don't have the ropes going over the boards, the ropes will go through the boards. But meat to buy a bed is a ule ba'afuke bebazini. Buy a bed, somehow it goes through the bed, and there were hooks on the other end, and therefore they were made very, very strong and very tight. Mashenkin Tagish a ule ba'afuke ba'vaksa. There were little hooks that were there. So it was buy a regular bed, you made holes and the rope went in, through the bed and came back out of the post on the other side, so it was much stronger. And by an arsa, there was little hooks. They went through the hooks, which was not strong. So that's why it was an inferior bed. A bed should not tell you. A bed, they would have a post right in the middle of the bed on the head, in the middle of the bed on the feet, and they would put a canopy over it, so this kept the bugs out, the flies out. And they also had a chasakala, so they had privacy, and that's called a nakliteh. So the sticks yoitzin. So we're talking about before, but you have to turn the bed over. So over here is zoikvin v'dayik. You stand it up, and that's good enough. You can't turn it over because it's not going to balance. So you stand it up, and that's good enough by an oval. Exactly. If that's good enough, that's a hefsek by a sukkah. You untie the ropes. Okay. Next Mishnah, we're talking about again words. If somebody says, I will not go into that city, you're allowed to walk within the tchum of that city. If you remember more Erevin we had, there's the city itself, then you have the ibur, the city, which literally means like a pregnancy, which is 70 2/3 of an amma, which is still considered part of the city. If you have a hut within 70 2/3 of an amma, then you start counting another 70 2/3 of an amma until that's considered the perimeters of the perimeter of the city. And then you count to 2,000 amas. So there's tchum and there's ibur. So he says here that the tchum, the city, you're allowed to walk into because it's not the city. But the ibur already, that is the city extended. The tchum is outside the city, and but the ibur is considered an extension of the city. So therefore, you're not allowed to walk in it. If you say I will not walk into your house, also when you close the door against the doorpost, whatever is inside that door, that's what's us. But on you're allowed to stand on the shvel itself. You're allowed to stand there in the doorway itself, as long as if you would close the door, you'd be outside the house. Those you have a very deep, wide doorpost. Second one, how do you know that the ibur of a city is considered part of the city? I'm going to be in the pasuk by Yeshua. It says in pasuk by Yericha, by Yeshua was in Yericha. And then he saw that Malach who said to him, he asked him, "You coming to kill me?" Whatever it is. So he didn't remember Mar Megillah. They weren't learning Torah. He stopped up for learning Torah. And it didn't bring kabbalah. My biyirich, when he's inside Yericha, Ilay my biyirich and mamach inside Yericha. But see, the pasuk biyiricha sageres, it was locked and fortified, and there's no way he can get in. So when he was inside the city, he was not inside the city; he was outside, but it was considered as if biyiricha is inside Yericha. So that ibur is considered part of the city. It's like about aim of chum. If you go that way, go further. Maybe the chum of the city is also considered part of the city. So we can't say that because it says in the Torah. But it says in the Torah, but chum it talks about the migrush, what you give to the Levium, and so it says there, you measure outside the city, and you have 2,000 amma, 1,000 for this and 1,000 for this. So we see that that's considered chutz le'ir. I know everybody knows if somebody makes a neder, I won't walk into your house. It's also only when you close the door, whatever is found is inside. It's considered inside. But the doorway itself and beyond is considered outside light. I'll ask you a question regarding by a kohen who visits a house by tzaras. It says in the pasuk that the yotza hakohen mina bayis, the kohen should walk out of the house, and then it says el pesach habayis, and he should walk to the door of the house. And then it says he's going to be close the door for 7 days. It says the Braisa, the kohen leaves the house. We would have thought he should go all the way back. He leaves the house. He goes all the way to his house, And then the Yazgir, when he's at home, he locks the door. How does he lock the door of the other guy's house if he's in his own house? So some say that the house, he takes a rope. Into some of the Shem say he takes a rope when he leaves. He takes a rope, he ties it to the doorknob, walks back to his house, no matter how far away it is, and gives a yank. And others say he uses a shliach. Interesting. I mean, why doesn't everybody say he just uses the shliach? He sends somebody. So obviously, some of the Shem hold the trader says clearly that he should do it. He can't use a shliach. What exactly is the base of that machlekes? Whether you could, you can't. I don't know. It says in Pasuk, he said he should leave the house. El Pesach Habayis, back to the house. So he doesn't go to his own house. He's still in this house. New Year Pesach Habayis, if he goes back to this house, Yochel Yamei Tachas Amashke, that he can stand in the doorway, be Yazkin, and close the door. Talmud like Minabayis, he has to leave the house. Actually, it's in Minabayis. Cool. So how does it work? In the house, out of the house. Okay, so Oimid Betzad Hamashke, he stands outside of the shvel, outside the doorway. The Yazkin closes the door. So what do we see from it clearly? That it means he should not be in the doorway. That in the doorway is considered part of the house. He has to leave the house completely. So what do you tell me, if I make a neder, I won't enter your house. I'm allowed to stand inside the doorway, just like, as long as the door closes, I'm not inside the house. Clearly here we see by Tzaras, the kohen has to go out. How do you know Shim Halach Lebeit Seiv Poyol didn't follow this rule? He went home. He's good. His Gerim was good. His Gerim was good. How do you know that if he Poyol went home and or either he stood in the doorway or he went home? He didn't follow the pasuk instructions exactly the way the trader says it. How do you know it's still valid? You would count the 7 days. Maybe he's going to buy it. As long as you close the house, I don't care how he did it. So my answer is not a kash. Shiny gabai here is different. The chsiv min habayis. The Torah clearly adds the words you have to leave min habayis. So generally speaking, you just close the doors good enough. Here, because there's min habayis, you have to close the doors completely. Next Mishnah. This is a long Mishnah. Okay, we already had basically this Mishnah, the entire Mishnah before in the Gemara, different parts of the Gemara. So the first part of the Mishnah, the big machlekes is showing how to learn Pshat the Mishnah. So there's the Reisha and there's a Sefer of the Reisha. What's the contrast? Reisha. Koinim Pedis Ha'elu. You said that these Pedis, and you highlight which Pedis are also to me like a carbon. All lie on me. Koinim Hain Alpi. They're also to me to my mouth. Or Koinim Hain Lipi. On my mouth or to my mouth. So what's usher? They're usher. Chilufein uvigiduleha. If you remember, we had Rambam Bacham had a question. If you said it to somebody else, can you ask, does the chalipin become us somebody else? Maybe only for yourself it becomes us. Now, so what you said here was kain and peiros elu. Not only are these fruits us, but also whatever if you swap it for something else, and if you plant it and the new growth. But what happens if you said shani oichel shani time? Kain and peiros. These peiros are us. Kain and peiros shani oichel time. I won't eat, I won't taste. Mutter b'chilufein, and you're allowed to when you swap it or the growth. What's the difference between the two? What alpi or lipi?
No, I'm saying when he says also lipi.
Yeah, but it could mean directly them. It could be the chalipin of it, and I'll eat that. So what's the difference between these two cases? Why in the first case is the chalufin aser, the chalufein and gedulein aser. In this case, this is machlekes Hashem how to learn pshat. So Rosh and Taisus and others learn pshat here. The chiluk is elus irrelevant. The chiluk here is in the first one you didn't say what's aser. His vice is the thing itself is aser. I'll even have enough from it. He said kain and peiros elu. What about it? You didn't say I won't eat it. He said these are to me like a carbon. So it's like hegdish. And what do you know about hegdish? Hegdish, the chalipin is aser, the gedolim aser. Achreim have a problem with that, but we'll talk about that. And in the Sefer, he said shani oichel shani tayim. He's limiting his iser only to achila and to teima. So therefore, if it's chalipin, you're not eating it. It's something else. If it's a gedulein, it's not it. So that's the chiluk. The chiluk is asavana or oichel tayim.
Could he use these peiros for some other thing besides achila?
Yeah, they could sold it and make money. The Ran says no. The Ran is the pshat. The chiluk is elu. Because you said elu, you're not saying all the fruits. You're not even saying all the figs in the world. Let's say you're saying these figs. Because you itemize which ones are usher. That's exactly like a carbon. And therefore, what you're saying is this entirely, every part of this is usher. Whatever comes out of it, the chalipah of it, the gedul of it. If you didn't say elu, which is the second case, you didn't say elu, that's tam. then asa, then only it is asa, nothing else. Okay, that's how we learn. Now, b'davar shezara kolam. Machlekes Hashem how to learn this clause. So the way you read it simply, we're talking about case number 2. When do we say that the chelupin in the gedula in the mutter b'davar shezara kolam? Something that the seed you put in the ground, it rots away, and then a new tree comes out. So it's no longer in existence. That's why the gedula is mutter. If let's say I said to Shani Yochel Yitai, but the seed is still there and I plant in the ground, I feel the gedulim aser. Why? Because even though it's even the gedulim are gedulim, 2 generations later. So how much is left of the original iser? Minute amount. But a dover sheyesh lematin, in every ned that we had before already, it's called a dover sheyesh lematin because you can only go to a rov to be matzabeted. I feel the elef lay bottle. So lay bottle. I remember met football for regulars and he'd say, why is it, we talk about that you have to be bottled, you take a seed, you put it in the ground, and so on. And you take the same seed, you take a pip of something, you put it on top of a fridge, you leave it for a week, it rots away and it's a stench. Why does no tree come out of that? What's the chiluk? The whole idea is bittul, right? The whole idea is that you should be bottled, so it's bottled. It's lost its original state. And over here is shmekt. And over here, it produces a tree. So he says, bittul also can smell. If you walk around the whole world and you parade, look how bottled I am, then what do you think is going to happen? It's only when you're bottled and it's under the ground and nobody knows, it's only to yourself. You takat snei leches, and a beautiful tree comes. Anyway. So other Rishonim learn that this goes on the first part as well. Even though we said on the first part that that the gedulin is when we say gedulin is asa, it's only if ein zara kola. But if zara it's only if zara kola. If ein zara kola, then the gedulin, the next generation, they keep on being asa. Next part, same case, same principle, but just a different case. I don't have any benefit from your handiwork. Is asa bechilupein uvi gedulain. You're not allowed to swap for something else, or gidulain. Now, what exactly? Where does gidulain come in by a woman's handiwork? So some of the Rishonim say, Pasha, she plants trees. Others say he took the chalipin and he made that and planted that. Let's say that he swapped it for fruits and he planted that. The gedulin of the chalipin. Shani oichel, shani toim. He says now instead ani oichel toim b'chulfein glein is mutter again. Either the chilik is elu, like the Ran says, and not elu, or the chilik is like the Rosh say, whether you said paydas, maisi there, or you said the clearly shani oichel shani toim. B'dav shadar kola, avodah shadar kola for gedulin sun asur. Now, the next part of the Mishnah, which we also had before. Sha'at oise eino oichel, and this part is no chiddush you would ask. Sha'at oise eino oichel, anything you do, I will not eat until Pesach. Sha'at oise, anything you do, eino mischasa, you're going to sew clothing for me, I'm not going to wear it until Pesach. Also, leave the Pesach, she made whatever it is before Pesach. Mutter lecha, mischasa, after Pesach. She only asked it till Pesach. You're allowed to eat after Pesach. Yeah, no, what's the chiddush here? She said, he said to her, Ad oise eino oichel ad Pesach. So obviously after Pesach you're allowed to. What's the chiddush here? So the Rishonim seem to be saying the pshat here is his words are not so clear because you could teach that anything you do, eino oichel ad Pesach, the word ad Pesach doesn't go to refer to the word eino oichel, but refers to the first 3 words ad oise. That anything you do until Pesach, eino oichel, never eat again. Or anything you do till anything you sew for me till Pesach, I will never wear again. You can teach that. And since by Nedarim we say we're always machmer, something we don't know machmer, maybe we should be machmer as well. So we're saying no, this is sort of, it's not 100% clear, but it's clear enough that we say that what he meant was that I will not eat it until Pesach. But the ad Pesach refers to the Easter rather than to the chayk, her ma'aseh. Okay, what happened? That's when we say. If anything you create till Pesach, I will never eat or I'll never cover. Here, he didn't limit the time that you won't eat or cover. And also leave the Pesach, also lechos chasa achar Pesach forevermore. The next case we already had before as well. We had a whole machlek. Remember, I said I won't eat bread today if I eat bread tomorrow. If you're allowed to eat today, because the Tanai is tomorrow, so today there's no Isser. But if you breach the Tanai tomorrow, then retrospectively there's an Isser. Are we worried that people are not going to be careful tomorrow? And Rabbi Yehuda says, yes, we are, because people are careful, they don't do an Isser, but here it's only a Tanai, they don't feel like you're doing an Aveda. The Aveda was already done yesterday, but there's no Aveda yesterday. So very similar here. And then we brought this to understand how we learn that. So he said to her like this, At nehanesli, ad ha-Pesach, you cannot have any hana, he tells his wife. You cannot have any hana from me until Pesach. If you go from today till Sukkot, wait 6 months after Pesach, if you go to your father's house ever again until like Sukkot, you cannot have any hana from me until Pesach. No, Pesach. She went before Pesach. Then after Pesach, then clearly she can't have any hana until Pesach. So that's Pesach is mutal. What about if she went hochol? She went after Pesach. She had enough from her husband, but she did not go visit her family. No Isa. But then she went la'achar Pesach. She went. Then you're over bal yachal. Who is over bal yachal? So remember again, most of Shani learned that she's over bal yachal. She's the one who went to her father's house after Pesach. But the Rambam learns that he is over, because what Aveda did she do? She didn't make a neder. It says la yachel dvara. You shouldn't breach your words. It wasn't her words. It was the husband's words. So the Rambam holds who's over? The one who made the neder. The one who made them. And the same machlek as the Rambam and the Ran as we have by Klein. If you put on Klein on somebody else, who is over? The person wearing the Klein or the person who actually put it on? It says the person the person who put it on. The Rambam holds the person who put it on. The other one says the person who's wearing it. Some machlek have a whole discussion. Why can't they both be over? And they talk about how one Aveda, you can't have two people being over one Aveda. Anyway, so the Rambam holds clearly that it's he who's over here, not her. So if she hates him, she'll go to her father's house 10 times. And does he get malchus every single time that she goes? According to the Rambam. What happens? Is the other way around. He says to her, Sha'at nehenesli adachag. You cannot have any hana. The Isser is until Sukkot. And the Tanai is im ha'leches at lebeis abicha Pesach. You go to your father's house till Pesach. If she went before Pesach, asura b'hanasa adachag. If she went before Pesach, then she's asa b'hana. The Isser extends all the way to Sukkot. Umuteres leilach achla Pesach. But after Pesach, there's no Tanai anymore. Then she can go. Continue tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem.